podcast show on IVM podcast called The Gantantra, where he is the co-host. So over to you now. You can begin with the session.
Thank you so much. I hope I'm clear to everyone. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Great. Uh, so let me just sort of start by saying the topic of my talk today. It's not some great secret. I will tell you right at the start that you only need three things to be able to write well. You need to be able to read critically. You need to be able to write well, and you need to edit. And that's just it. That's the entire talk, really. But what I want to do, and because this is an opportunity where you're all law students, and I think you will be writing at some point of time or the other. This is an opportunity, I thought, to do a more interactive kind of session. Something which is not just me talking, because that will be completely boring. You will all switch off after a point of time, and you'll forget most of the things that I want to say. You can remember those three things: that you need to read carefully, write well, and edit. So, which is why I sent across the request that you should all carry a pen and paper with you, because that will sort of help make the session more interesting, more effective, and possibly more useful for you at the end of the day. Okay. So let's start with the first thing. All right. Um, I will send you a link on the chat. Am I allowed to send links on the chat? Yes. Okay. So I will send you a link on the chat about of a yeah, opinion which I expressed today. If you all can just confirm with me if you can open this link and read it. Okay, I'm just sending that link. Okay. Has everyone got it? Okay. Is the full thing opening, or is it asking you to sign in? I think someone said to say something and it's muted. Sorry, what is it? It's not opening, is it?
This seems to be a
Oh,
premium.
it's a premium feature. No worries, no worries, no worries. I'll just copy and paste the text in the chat. Hold on for this thing. I thought it. Oh, it was opening in the morning. I guess they put it behind the paywall by now. I'll just put the text as much as possible. It's an opinion piece by Gautam Bhatia. Some of you may be familiar with him. Okay. Okay. All right. I've copied and pasted. Okay. And I will cut out some of the unnecessary things in the middle, such as most read, etc., etc., etc. Okay. I have copied and pasted in the chat. Okay. Everybody got it? Okay, great. So what I will do is, okay, I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes. Okay. And I am being deliberate in giving you exactly 5 minutes. 5 minutes, what I wanted to do is read this, and you will write 3 sentences. One sentence will summarize the argument that Gautam Bhatia is making. Second sentence will say why he's making this argument. Third will be your take on this op-ed, this opinion piece. Okay. So you have 5 minutes. First sentence, summary of what he says. Second sentence, why he's saying this. And third sentence, your take on it. Okay. So it's just 3 things. No more than 50 to 60 words tops. Let us not make 200-word long sentences like a certain former Chief Justice of India. All right. Short sentences. First sentence, what Gautam Bhatia is saying. Second sentence, why he's saying it. Third sentence, your take on it. Okay. So your time starts now. Okay, we're about halfway through. We have another 2.5 minutes more. Okay, great. I think 5 minutes are up. We can take another 30 seconds. And I'll call upon a couple of people to read out what they've written. I think some of you have put the, the chat box itself, but I would ideally prefer that you write it down. It makes a difference. I know that then you haven't used ChatGPT. Okay, great. Time's up. So I'll just call upon someone and maybe you can just give us what you're taking as well. So let's see. Astik Kumar. So I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Yeah. Why don't you unmute yourself and maybe whoever's the moderator can unmute. Yeah, Astik.
Yes, good evening, sir. Is it echoing? Wait a second. Hello.
Yeah, you're fine. Go ahead.
Sir, I believe that the author has written this piece so that he can bring about the question, does the spirit of constitution support integration of the state of Jammu Kashmir by eliminating its special status, or does it actually believe that based on diversity, some states should be given some powers, some specialty, some treatments?
And how has he said it?
So he gave the example of the tribal struggle, like Schedule 5th and 6th.
Okay. And what is your take on it?
I believe that it is indeed true because India, I think it's much more diverse than any country,
Mhm.
and some places are much more complex than we should let them be governed by a single constitution or single set of rules. So I
Mhm.
think it is indeed true that we should have some special provisions for some states.
Okay. Thanks, Astik. Let's have someone else. Shafaq, if I'm pronouncing your name right. Shafaq Fatima, batch of 2429.
Good evening, sir. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. Tell us these
So
three
in this
things.
art, in this article, the author only talks about the thing is that we have seen the Article 370 change as something as a political thing, not something
Mhm.
from the point of view from the whole of nation.
Mhm.
It is only seen as a political thing. Yeah, why Article 370 should be removed. Jammu and Kashmir people, Jammu and Kashmir people will be segregated because of it. But as a whole, if we have to say it, Article 370 was actually something that uh, mm, can I speak in Hindi?
English, because I more
Okay,
comfortable in English.
okay, sir. So let me find this that word actually made them far away from us,
Hmm.
Jammu and
Okay,
Kashmir people.
sure.
They before 2019, we felt like Jammu and Kashmir, they had their
Not
own
the whole
flag, they
one
had their own
sentence.
constitution.
Remember, only one sentence. You can't summarize the whole article for me. One sentence. What do you think the author has said?
The basic thing from reading the article, it is about the Article 370
Mhm.
shouldn't be looked at the political thing. It should be
Mhm.
looked at the whole point of the whole
Okay.
nation.
So how has he said this?
Uh, by actually looking into the, I'm sorry, sir.
That's okay. What? Fine. What's your take on this?
My take on this is at removal of Article 370 has some upside too, but there
Okay.
are some negative point aspects of it,
That's
and that
that's
should be
general
looked upon.
370. What about the author's take on it?
Mm, I'm sorry, sir, but I haven't gone that depth
No
into it.
problem. That's fine. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to. No worries. That's good. Good effort. I appreciate the fact that you made the effort. Thank you so much. Don't worry about the language. Language will come. It's a trivial thing. Uh, Tilak, can I ask you to unmute in three
Yes, sir.
sentences? Okay.
Sir, one second, sir.
Mhm.
Sir, the author has tried to analyze the judgment passed in this
Mhm.
case. He has
Mhm.
also used a pinch of political background that highlights this case. And then he has compared how the doctrine of integration has been applied. And then the example of tribal son was also,
Only one sentence. Only one sentence.
yes, sir. The example of tribal son was also brought in.
Okay.
And
And
my
what
take
is
on
your
this
take on it?
is that it shouldn't be integrated with India because it is a very sensitive place wherein the issues are still settling. And I think it
Okay.
should be an independent state
Okay.
itself.
Thank you. So the reason why I set this for you is because if you do these three things well, academic writing will be very easy. But as you have all realized, it's not that easy, right? It sounds very simple, right? Just read, write well, and edit well, and it's all fine. But it's not. And I deliberately gave you 5 minutes. I gave you 5 minutes because if you give yourself all the time in the world, right, you'll probably not get anything done at all in the first place. You have to learn to work with a tight deadline. And my writing for me became much better when I learned how to work on a tight deadline. And tight deadline doesn't mean in 1 month from now, it means tomorrow. All right. I work best when I have that deadline. And when I know I need to produce it, it forces my mind to think quicker. Let's get back to this piece. All of you missed out the most important fundamental part of this. I don't think I copy pasted the headline, right? And I think that would have given you a clue where to look for it. I'll paste the headline and let me see if you all think of the piece differently. Okay. This is the headline. In our constitution, two competing visions of power. Now go back and think about what you wrote about this article and let me know if you read this article differently. You've seen the headline. I've pasted the headline in the chat. Go back and read the article now, slowly, if you want. Any specific part of it, any specific aspect of it. Does it make you think somewhat differently? Anybody want to offer their thoughts?
So if I may,
Yes,
like
please.
it
Sumit, right? Yeah, go
contextualizes,
ahead.
yes, sir.
Hmm.
So it
Hmm.
contextualizes the whole scenario in terms of like the byline says that uniformity versus diversity or centralization versus decentralization. So he actually emphasizes on these schisms and the conundrums that exist in our constitution. And he
Okay.
further like reflects in the whole of the essay
Before you get
about,
to that, so now how
yes,
will you frame the first sentence of what you think Gautam Bhatia is saying?
Like in terms of what he wrote was with respect to he critiqued that Article 370
You don't need to tell
and
me what
the
the
view.
article is about. That's what I'm asking you.
Correct, sir.
I'm asking you in one sentence. What
So
is
with
Gautam Bhatia trying to say?
so he is meaning to say that there are two parallel sides to this. So
Okay.
one way can be that you can have uniformity along and make the nation in that realm, or you can have diversity. And I think the abrogation of 370 is
Don't, let's
going.
not get into
Yes,
370 at all.
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Let us simplify the two sides with one word each. What would it be?
Uh, I think these are spectrums is what
Two
I
words.
reckon, sir.
One side he's referring to with one word. Other side
Uniformity.
is yeah
And second is diversity.
very good.
First is
Perfect.
like
Don't need to.
centralization,
You could
decentralization.
say centralization. That's
Correct.
also a good way of putting it. So
Yes, sir.
now we have cut out a lot of words that you used and made it two simple words. Right? You can either choose to say centralization, decentralization, uniformity, diversity. Okay. Now, using these two sets of words, what do you think he's trying to tell us in this article? Anybody. I throw it open to anyone. Go ahead, Sumit.
Yes, sir. So he says that our constitution, like it has both the philosophy of like integration, homogeneity, uh, in contrast to
Yeah,
constitutional pluralism, I think.
perfect. Let's use those two words that you only said, right?
Right.
Constitution has both aspects of uniformity and diversity. Constitution has element of centralization and decentralization. There's one more thing that he's saying. Anybody in this specific context? Okay, we've built the basic what this article is about, right? One more thing he has said. What is that one more thing he has said?
So is it judicial activism?
You're getting closer, but he doesn't use the word activism. He's not talking about judicial activism. What is he talking about? What does he say? This is not a quiz question, so there's no absolute one right answer. I'm okay with however you want to frame it, but it should be close to what the author is saying.
Sir, is it with respect to disincentive, sir?
No, not really. Anybody else want to take a shot? Anybody who hasn't spoken so far? Aishwarya. Can unmute yourself.
So is it about the visions of power that he's emphasizing on throughout the article?
Okay. one more, that is the difference between centralization and decentralization. All right. He has said one more thing in that context. What is it? Astik was getting close to that point. Anybody want to build a little bit on what Astik said? Anybody? What does he say about the judiciary?
Sir, is it related to how the Supreme Court interprets the
Go on,
the
go on,
70,
go on,
right?
go on. What does he
Like
say? I mean, he makes a broader point than just 370. He makes a broader point than 370. What is he trying to say?
the interpretation of alienation versus diversity, I believe.
Little bit more simpler than that. What is he trying to say? Anybody else? Utkarsh? Maybe? I haven't heard from you. Utkarsh is there or not there? Okay.
With respect to judiciary, like he says that the constitutional this thing, like reliance on the judgments since 1950 is long-standing. Like now, we need to engage in those, interrogate those reasons on which we have placed reliance upon. And he asked that now is the time to ask questions as to what do we actually want rather than just putting our reliance on Constituent Assembly debates or the
No,
judgments.
it's okay, sir. I get that point.
Yes.
Point. Sorry, Utkarsh was, I think, trying to say something and I didn't hear that. Utkarsh, would you like to unmute and say something?
So is it about how the courts hold some constitutionally guaranteed autonomy in certain respects?
Not exactly. Just go back and read it once again. What he's trying to say is that courts have favored centralization over decentralization over a period of time. Okay. So now let's try and put that first sentence together. Gautam Bhatia says our constitution has elements of centralization and decentralization, but courts have favored centralization. That's his main argument. All right. In one sentence. Okay. You can use diversity and uniformity. That's also perfectly fine. Right. You can say federalism and centralization. That's also perfectly fine. But this is the core of his argument. Now let's go to the next line. How is he saying this? All right. How is he justifying his stand? Anybody? Hitaishi, you want to take a shot at it? You can unmute yourself and how do you think he's saying it? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Aishwarya. Yeah.
So, sir, he is using the case of Article 370 and the circumstances in which it was implemented. It was removed from the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir. The special status was taken away because when it happened, it was the BJP government that was in power. And
That's a lot. One sentence, I said. How will you say it in one sentence?
So that's how I would summarize it, using the case of Article 370.
Okay, but that's not that Article 370 talks about only one of the two aspects we're talking about. What is the other example that he uses? Yeah, Astik.
Sir, he links it with the demand of the Adivasi for a separate autonomous. Now, the courts actually rejected it. So historically, they have been more
That's okay.
inclined.
That's okay. I'm just out of asking how simply would you put it? Now you've heard
So
Aishwarya give
by
one part of that sentence. You've given the second part. Now let's put it together in one short sentence. How does he justify his point? We understood his main argument in the first sentence, right? Which is that Constitution has both centralizing and decentralizing features, but courts have favored centralizing features. Sumit?
So he says that any constitutional case, it involves, they are invariably of political nature. And
That's all very long. That's all very long-winded. One sentence. How does he justify his first sentence? Akshat, do you want to take a stab at it?
So can I?
Sorry. Yeah, Tilak, go ahead.
So broadly speaking, he's just adding how the judgments of the Supreme Court and constitutional arrangements have helped to get to this point.
Okay. Akshat?
Sir, I think he's pointing out historical and ongoing tension. Sir, he has mentioned 75 years old, as this document now turns 75 years old.
Okay. Okay, let me make it a little simpler. Okay, he gives two examples. One example you've all mentioned, Article 370. What is the other example that he gives? Or rather, he talks about the Supreme Court's Article 370 judgment. What is the other example that he gives?
Can I make a guess?
Yeah, go ahead, Aishwarya.
Is it the Indian flag and the Adivasi flag?
Close, but there is that is the surface level. What's the constitutional aspect of that?
Sir, the Adivasi autonomy within the Indian Union.
There's something in that specific context which he talks about. Read it carefully.
So like he talks in secessionist tendencies, uske realm mein he talks about. Like these demands are with respect to the secessionist tendencies and they ask for tribal stan or etc. These are
No,
like
there
ways of,
is something very specific he mentions. What about the 5th and 6th schedules? What do you think he says about? Yeah, I think Astik, you're closer to that. Tribal stance. I mean, you are all in Jharkhand, one of the 5th schedule areas. You should know this well. The point is you haven't become any tribal stan, but the fact of the matter is he's drawing a comparison between Article 370, the way the Supreme Court talked about integration, and the fact that Constitution had created these special measures for Adivasis, 5th and 6th schedule. Okay. So we got our first sentence, which talks about what the purpose of this article was, what the argument he was making. Second sentence, how does he say this? He contrasts Supreme Court's judgment in Article 370 case with the existence of 5th and 6th schedule in the Constitution. Okay. What is he trying to say? So we have understood what he's saying, why he's saying it. Okay. You're all very clear on what the article is saying and what he's trying to say. Now let's get to the third point. All right. And this is where I'll want each one of you to talk about this. Now that you've understood this is what the article is about, this is what he's trying to say, You tell me in one sentence and only one sentence. You can't give explanation. You can't let that sentence keep running on. In one sentence, what is your take on this article? All right. So let's start with, say, Vaibhaswata. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Vaibhaswata Chakraborty.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So this basically talks about that how we are like every discussion that we that is happening around the abrogation of this article and the Supreme Court case is that we are only looking at it through one very minute aspect. That there are so many more aspects that should also be looked at the same time, and that he is also like talking about um, how the Supreme Court.
Hang on. I'm not asking what he said. I'm not asking what he said. What is your take on these two things which I mentioned?
Sir, like if we look at the like the aspect of constitutionalism, then yes, there is like, well, at the same time, if we are like seeing this abrogation of this article in the very purpose of integration, then at the same time there exists these other schedules which have also been made like to have this diversity. So like the opinion that it very puts a very interesting question at why exactly this article was abrogated, that whether it is only like is there only a political connotation, or is it really to help that integration, because there already exists that integration in way of diversity.
So how would you say it in one sentence? Well, you've given us a lot of thoughts. How would you say it in one sentence? Your take on the article.
So this article, it brings a very like
Okay, very quickly. It can be in just 5 words also. I don't mind. I'm not looking for an article now. I'm just asking for one sentence. Sorry, I think my connection faded out. Let me do this. Let me do this. Let us make this process a little quicker. I want you all to take like 1 minute, gather your thoughts about this article and put them in the chat box. Everyone. Okay? Tilak, Astik, whoever is signed from NUSRL, Akshat, Vaivaswat, Aishwarya, Shafak, Utkarsh, Sumit. Write your one sentence, okay, in the chat box. Your one sentence on your take. Okay. Well, I just shift my connection to my hotspot so that it doesn't keep falling apart. Okay. Okay, anybody wants to put in their thought on this? Why don't you all put this thought into the chat box? Mhm. Okay. Okay. We have 4 people have put in. More of you, please. A few people dropped off. Is that because of some connection issue, or am I really boring you all to tears? Okay. Okay. No worries. No. Okay. Everyone's here. It's just the visual of it has got down. Don't worry about it. Okay. Some more. Some more. I have some more people. Type in. Type in. I'm not looking for extremely complicated takes. As it could be as simple as I don't think he's right, or I think he's wrong, or this is okay. Okay. All right. Broadly, this is what it takes to write academic. Okay. You will need to read very closely. Okay. And when I say read very closely, I mean break apart the piece that you're reading. Right? It's easy to look at the fact that some 3 paragraphs have discussed 370 and think this article is about 370. It's not about 370. Right? Article 370 is one of the steps being used to make the argument. But what is the argument? Right? The argument is broadly, like what I said, that there are 2 visions of power in the Constitution. Right? One which says that power should be centralized, and one which says that power should be decentralized. Okay. Now, again, this is not to tell you all that I'm smarter than you or Gautam Bhatia's articles are difficult to read, anything like that, nothing like that. The point of this is to get you used to doing something which we are not taught to do on a regular basis. Okay. We are not taught to read critically on a regular basis. We are taught to read, gather information, and be done with it. Whatever information you need to get from an article, gather it and be done with it. But that, like I said, is just step 1. Right? And even that, you need to know what information you're gathering from the article. Right? Now, pieces like this piece of writing is making an argument. Right? It's not an encyclopedia entry. It's one thing to read an encyclopedia entry and get a piece of information. It's completely different to read another piece of academic writing and understand what they're trying to say. Okay? And that requires you to follow their argument step by step. So after the session is done, right? And this is something that you can all do for yourself, and maybe you can all discuss it among yourself also. Try and rewrite this entire article. Okay? You understood what the main argument is. I have summarized it for you. I've made it for you simply. I have told you the steps that are being followed in writing this article and a critical take. Supposing you were asked to summarize this, okay, in 200 words, no more than 200 words. Okay, forget about your own take on this. Summarize it in 200 words. That is what will help you, force you to read this article, distill that argument, understand fully what the author is trying to say, and you will get better at writing. Okay. Now, one thing to sort of understand about reading is that it doesn't happen overnight when you sort of want to write an article. You have to keep reading every single day. That's the one important thing I want to leave you all with. And I said there are 3 things that you need to know to write an article. One is to read. But read doesn't mean, oh, I have an article to write, I'll start reading now. That's not how it works. You have to read on an every single day basis. And when I say read, I don't mean just read to, you know, gather some information. That is one step. But you should also learn to read critically. This is the one thing which, unfortunately, this is stuff which our schools should teach, but unfortunately, our schools don't teach this properly. We are faced with this for the first time in law college, if we are lucky, or more realistically, when we are actually at work and we are asked to read critically. I always tell people this. I did my master's from the University of Oxford, and I learned only two things there. I learned how to read and I learned how to write. And when I say learned how to read, I mean how to read critically. How to read an article and try to understand what the author is saying. Okay? This is easier said than done, but you'll have to do it on a regular basis. How will you know you've understood what the author has said properly? You should be able to summarize it in as few words as possible. Okay? That way you will know you've summarized it. Because as I could see that all of you were trying to understand, your sentences kept getting longer because you were picking out parts of the article, but you were not thinking of the article as a whole. Okay? This is just one short article. There'll be much larger articles, but the technique remains the same. The technique is to basically read it critically. Understand what each line is doing. Okay, each line is building towards an argument, is building towards a larger point. And what is that larger point? Okay, the larger point is this. The larger point in this article was the fact that there are two visions of power within our constitution. Okay, one for centralization, one for decentralization, one for federalism, one for concentrating power, whatever, however else you want to frame it. Okay, but you also have to understand how the author is trying to say this. What are the steps they're following in building an argument, right? Now, a lot of us do this in the context of a moot court competition. All right. Any of you here, you can just put up your hands if you've taken part in the moot court competition. Anybody? You will sort of understand when you look at good memorials, when you hear good lawyers, they are building an argument. Nobody just comes up with an argument like that. An argument is not sounding clever. An argument is about setting down your premises, building on those premises, and reaching a conclusion. Okay? And you have to follow it step by step by step. One good way, well, you could sort of look at some of the constitution bench arguments that have taken place in the Supreme Court. The YouTube videos are available. Do your background reading and listen to some of the arguments there. You'll get a very good idea as to how top lawyers try to build arguments, right? And even here, and that is what you also do in a piece. You are trying to argue something, right? Nobody wants an academic piece where you're telling people how much you know. Absolutely no interest. No one cares about that. A good academic article is about you making an argument that maybe some others have, but you are doing it in a different way, or an argument nobody has made. All right. Again, I'm simplifying this and I'm breaking it down. This is much harder than it sounds, but it does take a lot of practice. But I'm telling you in which direction you should practice in the limited time that we have. Okay. Practice first by reading critically. And you don't have to look for very arcane books or anything like that. Your newspapers every day. All right. And this happens much more regularly these days than it used to when I was in law school. I'm 100% sure. I think one of you sitting in a library, if you look at your nearest newspaper in the library, you will find at least one op-ed like what I shared of Gautam Bhatia's, which is talking about some legal issue. You don't need to go into a complex issue of law, politics, or society or something like that. There is always at least one legal issue somewhere in some newspaper on a daily basis. If you learn to read that, critically analyze it, understand what the author is trying to say, see how they've built their argument, and the most important part, give your own take on it. Does this make sense? This the way the author is arguing, that makes sense? Does that lead to the conclusions from which they started? That is what will build the muscle. All right. Now, I have a friend who sort of trains people in writing and all of that, and he makes two interesting comparisons, and you can choose whichever one suits you best. No singer turns up on the day of the performance and starts singing, right? Those of you who have learned Hindustani or those who have learned Carnatic will know there is a process of riyaz. But you practice it daily. It's not that there's a concert and you start practicing. Riyaz is to build your throat muscles, to build your control, to be able to build that discipline to do this on a regular basis. Writing also requires this kind of riyaz, right? You need to do it on a regular basis. You need to do it in a manner which builds that discipline in you. And to start with reading, all right? Because without reading, there is no writing. Everything else will not make much sense. Editing, nothing, all of that, none of that will make sense if you do not read. But how are you supposed to read? Like I said, you have to read critically. Okay? Do that on a daily basis. You will realize you're getting better. The next part of it is writing and writing critically. Applying your mind to it. It's not about reproducing what someone has said. It's about what is your take on it. That was the third part of the exercise that I gave you. Give me your take on this argument, on this article in one line. Okay. Now, again, I set you a very impossible challenge. Believe me, this is not, I didn't expect, and there was no expectation that any one of you will get it perfect in the first time. That's the reason why I'm doing this. I'm telling you, this is the challenge, right? I wanted to see how you would approach it. And you will be able to tell this is the distance that I have to cover. That doesn't mean that you get discouraged and say writing is too hard for me, I don't want to do it. But I'm giving you the approach and the technique of how to go about doing this. What is true for reading is also true for writing. You have to write on a regular basis. It doesn't mean that you have to write 800 words every day. Nobody can do that. That is ridiculous. It's impossible. You can maintain a journal. You can maintain a diary. You can have your own blog post. Writing is a bit like working out at a gym, right? You don't one day turn up at a gym and start trying to pick up the heaviest weights. You have to train your body. You have to develop the right kind of muscles. You have to know what is the technique, and only then you can start lifting up the heaviest weights. Writing is just like that. You have to be able to do it on a sufficiently regular basis that writing becomes almost second nature to you, right? And again, like I said, writing, not just summarizing what someone said, being able to apply your mind to it. This is the third part of the third sentence that I sort of asked you to write about, which is what is your take on it, right? And your take on the article as a whole, not just one part of it, correct? Some of you have made an effort at it. I can see from some of the comments you have tried to give your take on it, and that's fine. If it doesn't sound as polished, or if you feel, oh, this doesn't sound exactly right, there is no right here. Is it something that you can justify? Okay, that's it. Is it something that you can justify to say, this is why I think this article is good? This article, I'm not saying, okay, let's not use the term good and bad. This article makes sense, or this article doesn't make sense. What the person is trying to say makes a lot of sense, or what the person is trying to say does not make any sense at all. Okay, but to be able to do that, right, you have to read regularly and you have to write regularly. Finally, there is one point, and we couldn't get into that today because of the lack of time, but that's actually something that can come much later, which you have to learn to edit well. Right? And I sort of tried to get you guys to limit to a certain sentence, limit to a certain word limit. This is a very difficult art. It's not the easiest in the world, and it's something that will come naturally to you the more you read and the more you write. You have to be able to remove useless words. Okay. A lot of people unfortunately think that writing is about using as big words as possible, as complicated sentences as possible. That's not true. All of that is rubbish. Writing is essentially about conveying your thoughts in as simple a manner, in as straightforward a manner that anybody who can read it should be able to understand. Okay, this is what this person is trying to say. This is what this person means. Okay, and to be able to do that is not simple, is not easy. It is very hard, right? To do that, you have to be able to read very regularly and you have to write very regularly. So, just to summarize, and again, I'm not going to give you too many complicated things to think about. If you want to write academically well, you have to read a lot. Read every day and read critically. Read a lot and read critically. Write a lot and write critically. And edit ruthlessly. Okay? These are just the 3 things that you need. But all of these 3 things, it's not a one-shot effect. It's not that tomorrow you can start doing this. Tomorrow is the process by which you will start learning how to do this step by step. Conveying to an audience, speaking to an audience, or rather writing for an audience, getting their feedback, all of which improves your writing. Okay. And when I look back and I see my old articles and I'm like, I could have done so much better. You learn and you improve. You're never perfect at writing. All of us try and fail and get better and get better. So don't get discouraged if you're not published. Don't get discouraged if your efforts at writing are not published. You have to keep doing it. You have to keep at it. But you have to keep saying, am I better than I was yesterday? Okay. So I'll leave it at that with those thoughts. Okay. You can just read this article once again and think about how you want to write about this article, how you want to approach it. There are any number of articles that you like to. But what I want to leave you with is that there are no shortcuts. There is no easy way. There's no simple way of becoming a better writer. The only way, it's actually very simple to do it, it's just that it takes time. It's a function of time and it's a function of discipline and it's a function of effort. If you put that in and in the right direction, you will become a good writer. So I'll stop there and open it up for questions. Any questions that you may have about writing, about how to be a better academic writer, how to write effectively, how to get published. I think we have about 10 minutes or so. I'll be happy to answer. Yes, Sumit.
I have one question with respect to the editing part that you mentioned. So when it comes to writing, the editing is the most toughest part is what I think. I have a particular question in mind is about the point that I have written something and I want a point to be reinstated and underscored for most of the part. But I don't want to reiterate the same point over and again. But I want to emphatically emphasize the point so much so that the audience, whosoever is reading, can fathom or gauge that this is the point I am underscoring in my whole write-up. So what should I do in terms of me not reiterating the same point, but I do place enough reliance on it so that the reader becomes aware that this is the point that I am trying to make.
Great question. You'll have to say it as simply as possible, straight up. Okay. Suppose, for instance, if I were writing this article, let's say that Gautam Bhatt has written, I would start by saying, Constitution of India has both centralizing and decentralizing features. Okay. But I would also end it by saying this. The reason is because when I say it up front, I ask the reader I tell the reader this is what you should expect from the rest of this article. But at the end of it, I reiterate it in such a way that they feel that actually their expectation has been met. Keep in mind, every reader expects something when they are reading an article. Okay. If you promise them one thing, you can't give another thing. I can't say actually this is about centralization and decentralization and spend the entire article talking about something that has nothing to do with any of this. Right? Then the reader will feel, what sort of a person is this? Why did I waste my time? Straight up. I know a lot of people sort of go around in circles and finally come to the point, but to be an effective writer, and this is where, editing helps post, because now that argument is clear in your head, is what I'm trying to say coming out right at the start? Right? Is my point coming out right at the start? And you can say this, I'm going to try and build towards it. But a lot of it also depends on the word length. All right. It also depends. So for longer articles, you have to have better structure. You should be able to say this part will cover this part will cover this part will cover this, and finally I will say this thing. Right? But always keep in mind, for editing, it's good to give yourself some time to edit. Because what happens, and I have tended to do this also. Okay, this is a little bit about how our brain reads stuff. Our brain doesn't read word by word. Okay, this is an important thing to keep in mind while you're editing. Our brain has the sentence, what you're trying to say, and sometimes even if a word is not there, it fits in that word. Okay, which is great for getting a lot of information, very bad for editing. So you have to train yourself almost to read word by word, which is hard when it's your own work. Sometimes it's better to ask someone else to help you edit it. Sometimes it's better to like sort of forget about the article a little bit and come back and edit it. It's not easy. It requires you to sort of take a little bit of time away from the article and come back at it.
Sir, I have with one more question with respect to like analyzing the judgment. So, like you said about writing critically, writing critically, thinking critically, and in that realm only, I have this question that when you read or when one reads 5, 6, or 7 judgments, and he or she wants to write on a particular point, but I don't want to reproduce the same judgment or the like para of the same judgment because I just don't want to collate what the judge has opined. But I want to have my brain also be there in terms of me analyzing the facets. So, what's the best way to analyze or critically write a piece? So, what are the components of writing critically? So, if I were to write something on animal law, for example, so
Let me
what?
say,
Yes,
it
yes,
doesn't start that way. It's see, that's the chat GPT way of writing. Here are 7 judgments, write about them. That's the wrong way to do it.
correct,
The
correct.
right way to do it is to say, has the Supreme Court understood this point in animal law correctly? Let's say, right? Or let's take it at an even higher level. What is the interpretation of this provision in this particular thing? Then you come to your 5 or 6 or 7 judgments, right? You have to, because those judgments are the material on the basis of which you make your argument. They are not the basic thing that you are writing about. Okay, let's make that very clear. Sometimes, yes, if you're critiquing one judgment, that's a different matter. You're writing an entire article about one judgment. There, your fundamental point is, does this judgment make sense? Or what is this judgment trying to say? Whereas here, when you are trying to write about this, you have to start by asking yourself the right question. Your question will be, let's say, has the Supreme Court understood section so and so of this law correctly? How will I say that? I will first look at what the Supreme Court has said in the context of this section in these 4 or 5 cases. Then I will say, how has the Supreme Court arrived at these conclusions? Then I will say, actually, these 3 judgments make sense, these 4 judgments don't make sense. Right? Now, the fact is, the actual word length doesn't matter so much. You have to have the structure thought out in your head before you start reading the cases. Right? Because when you start reading the cases, you're just left with a mass of data. You don't know what to do with it. Right? It's unstructured data. It's just fed to you, and you're just going to produce summaries of it. Of no use to anyone. You have to first start by framing that question for yourself correctly. What am I trying to say here? I want to say that the Supreme Court has not understood, say, animal law correctly. Right? But again, this doesn't mean that you start reading the judgments after you frame the question. You have to do this prior reading. You have to do the prior reading. You have to do it critically. Right? So when you're writing, you're framing the question. You read the judgments. You understand what they have said. But that's not the purpose of your article. The purpose of your article is to make a critical argument that you are sort of saying that this is what the Supreme Court has said about this. This is where I think it's right. This is where I think it's wrong also. Okay.
Yes, so actually, it was rightly said by you, but I was asking this question in context of those articles. Like, if you read 5, 6 judgments, But if you want to write an elaborative explainer piece, then those judgments and those whatever has been held or has been explained in those judgment, it becomes of consequence to our article. But when we are writing critically, we are critiquing one of the viewpoints, then it becomes like quite a taxing thing. That is why in that like
No, I understand. And
line
again,
you were
let me
asking, yeah.
reiterate. None of this is easier the first time you do it. It is going to be difficult. It is going to take time before you get good at it. But the only way to get good at it is to keep doing it. There are no simple tricks. The only simple trick is keep doing it again till you get better, right? And how do you get better? You get the feedback, you show it to others, you try to get it published, you work on the feedback that you get, you try and get better. That is the only way you'll get better at writing. There is no simple, straightforward way to. Anybody else have other questions? Yeah, go ahead, Nastik.
Sir, this is coming from someone who has just started thinking about publishing works in his first year. So generally what I see is that we can't really choose a topic. We can't find over what to write. Can you guide us as to how do we choose a topic to write?
What do you care about?
Right now, I would say, sir, digital space, cyber law, that really interests, I think.
It's too big. Too big. It's not like you wake up in the morning and generally care about the digital space. I'm asking you very specifically. When you when you read the newspaper or when you see some news events, what is it that evokes an emotion within you?
So I would say, I'm interested in chess, so mostly sports or maybe some recent
Okay.
development in AI technology.
Again, that's very broad. And see, the reason why I'm saying this is that this is not a game that you play, that you say which is the topic to start choosing. The way you get to be what is writing at the end of the day? Let's break all of this down. What is writing? Writing is a recent invention for human beings. Human beings survived for hundreds of thousands of years without writing, right? We only invented writing in the last 5,000-6,000 years. It's good. It's good. It has uses. But what is the purpose that it is serving? Right? One is just putting out information. Okay, but that's not what we're talking about here, right? Information that is just there to say this number of people came to this meeting. That's just information. That's not what we're talking about. That's not the writing we're talking about. Type of writing we're really talking about is conveying your thoughts and emotions. Okay? That is what we're talking about. Like, why does the Ramayana and the Mahabharata appeal to us? It's not the Rama did this, Arjuna did that, Krishna did this, Krishna did that, right? Why is it that we love that story? Because someone has put thought and emotion into it. Someone has said what Rama did was good, what Krishna did was bad, what Arjuna did was this. And we know it's good or bad not because someone has a framework where they're saying this is good, this is bad. They're saying, look, this is how it made someone feel. Look, this is how it hurt someone. And when it hurt someone, we feel that feeling as well. So when you choose a topic that makes you feel something. Right? Because it's not a mathematical equation. All the structures of logic and all of this is to help you convey something in a manner that people can understand why you're coming from here, how you're arriving at this argument, right? And so also for you to test, why is it that I'm feeling like this? What is the logical aspect to this? I want to convey my thoughts in a particular way. Pick a topic which you care about. And I say care about that when you read an article about it in the morning, that article makes you feel something. Not that it's about the digital space. All that is nonsense. That is just people who have the wrong idea about these things. Tomorrow morning, this is the right way to pick a topic. Tomorrow morning, pick the newspaper that you get, whatever you guys get. I hope you guys still get newspapers in college. Read through the articles. Which article makes you feel strong? Write about that. It could literally be theft reported in wherever NUSRL's campus is located in Ranchi. Okay. Why did it make you feel a certain way? What is it about it? that makes you want to write about it. Think about that. Okay. Don't think about what is publishable. Don't think about what is cool or what other people are writing about or what is in demand. All of that is nonsense. The reason why digital is in demand is because at the heart of it is the emotion of worry. People are worried. How will my life change because of this new innovation? People are worried who is using this innovation against me. Or people may be excited. People may be thrilled to know that this problem in my life is going to get solved because of this innovation. They want to find out more or they want to understand more. But at the heart of it, it's not because somebody wants to write about the digital space or anything. Think about what is it that makes you feel something? What topic, what issue, what event makes you feel something? Use that and write about that. Trust me, when you start on that path, you will suddenly realize that I'm writing about something that everyone wants to read because it resonates with them. Okay, think about it from that perspective. Aishwarya has a question.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, I had a question regarding like how can we make our writing more academically balanced? Because it often happens that when we are about to express our opinion or thoughts on some topic, we tend to use certain strong words, which can seem too opinionated. So instead of that, how can we make it academically balanced?
Don't. Okay, I'm saying a controversial thing, but don't. Unfortunately, what was a way for people to express complex thoughts has now become an end in itself. Academic writing and publishing. Everybody counts your number of papers, counts whether you've been cited. Nobody cares what you actually said and what does it mean, right? I recently wrote an obituary / tribute to A.G. Nurani. A.G. Nurani is by far one of the most influential, one of the most impactful writers this country has produced in the last 60, 70 years. He is absolutely uninterested in being neutral. He's absolutely uninterested in being academic. He says what he sees. And point is, he does the work. If you see his books, his research, it's all very well researched. He has a great understanding. You can agree or disagree with him. That's not the point. The point is, he has a point of view and he's unhesitant about expressing that point of view. Drop this notion that there is some neutral way of writing that is quote unquote academic. To me, a lot of people who actually have nothing of interest to say, but have a target to hit for publication, write such nonsense. Write such unreadable garbage. So, see, nobody's saying that you have to sort of be hyperbolic, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you feel, just take this 370, sorry, let's take this article itself, right? If you feel the 370 judgment was badly reasoned, you say it's badly reasoned. If you say that it is completely contrary to every notion of fairness, you say it's completely contrary to the notion, every notion of fairness. But you have to be able to justify it. That's all. Right? What is your notion of fairness? My notion of fairness is you have applied your mind to this, you've actually given good legal reasons, and you have not avoided doing your job. That is my notion of fairness. And because you have not done any of this, I think it's a violation of every notion of fairness. You have to be able to justify what you're saying. That is all. No one expects you to temper your language just for some academic standard. I think that's nonsense. Right? So never feel that you have to temper that language. If you feel something, but again, it requires you to do the work to say, why do you think it's unjust? Justify why it's unjust. And maybe in the process, be open to saying, actually, I started off by thinking it's unjust, but maybe it's not so bad. You have to be open to that idea also. Right? Maybe our initial feelings about a lot of things are colored by a certain moment, but when we think about it coldly, we might realize actually that is not the entirety of what I think about this. So let your assessment be guided by the facts and the reasons rather than a need to sound a particular. Yeah, Tilak.
So just a basic question. Any legal writing or any kind of writing needs a reasoning. And how do we develop our style of reasoning, sir? Do we imbue some from some others writers, or how do we develop our kind of reasoning to that kind of writing?
Read, right? See, because when I say read, go back to what I said. Read critically. Read to understand how has this person arrived at this conclusion. Don't just read to say what is the conclusion, or don't just read and first few and say, okay, this is what this article is about. Once you do it long enough, it'll become almost second hand for you. It'll almost become like easy for you. But when you read, you have to read carefully and closely and critically. That is the only way you will develop your reasoning abilities. Right? You can't just say, okay, this article is about 370. No, you haven't read the article closely then. Right? You haven't closely gotten to the heart of this article. You have to read closely, carefully, critically. Only then will your powers of reasoning improve. Again, it's simply a question of exercise. If you go to the gym to improve your strength, if you sing to improve your singing voice, if you run or cycle or swim to improve these skills, reading and writing is exactly the same. There is no difference to it. The more you read, the better you get at writing. The more you write, the better you get at writing. But you have to do it regularly. Yeah, Akshat.
Sir, so the article rely more on a compilation of data, or can we put our personal opinion, sir?
Sure, but you have to understand the data first. You have to understand the data first, right? Like, for instance, if someone is like, okay, let's say, I mean, I didn't have that example immediately at hand, but there was a great example of this which happened about a month ago. Mint produced an article to say number of pending cases is going down in India. This is fantastic. To me, something smelled wrong about that. Okay, so what I did, I went back and checked the data, and I realized I looked at the wrong data. Okay, so I was able to say, actually, you're wrong. You've looked at the wrong data set. And the reporter called me and said, sorry, we made this huge mistake. Now, the point is, without doing the work first, you can't give an opinion. Sometimes somebody misreads the data and it's obvious from the article itself. But it's very rare. On data related articles, you should be able to go back, look at the data, see what it is saying, understand how they're using the data, and then say this. Now, unfortunately, newspapers are the place where this happens worst. And the headline influences the way we read an article. Someone will say deaths have gone down by, or rather, it's never that way. It's usually the other way around. They will say chances of dying increase 100% if you do this thing. Okay. And we read the article expecting to read something which will say that this is an extremely dangerous activity. But nowhere do they explain what the chance was before this activity and what is the chance because of this activity. There you can critique it to say, hang on, your own article doesn't explain what these two data points mean. Your article doesn't say, for instance, your chance of dying by this before, the chance of dying by this was 0.001, and now it has gone from 0.001 to 0.002. So obviously it's increased by 100%, but it is still so remote, no one should worry about it or care about this, right? You can do that, but you have to still know the data well, understand the data well, and to read the article critically to see how have they used that data. Those of you who follow on social media should check out the work of this startup called Data for India. They sort of present the data very well, talk about the data very well, and you will understand how to use data when you're making an argument, right? When you're saying that, the economy is growing, why 6% is also growth, 8% is also growth. How do you know that 8% is better than 6%? It's not because of numbers. Or how do you know that 6% is bad and 8% is good? You'll have to know what was it last year. You'll have to know what was the trend in the years before that. Then you can say our GDP growth. And what is growth? Growth of what? What is that thing that you're measuring every year? So you'll have to understand that well and then give your opinion, right? So that is how you approach these things. One
Like,
last question, I think,
yeah.
and then
Thank you,
we'll
sir.
wrap. Yeah, sorry, last question. I think Sumit was saying something.
No, sir, I was just saying that if any one of you have any further question, you are free to ask before
Yeah.
I invite Gaurav for vote of thanks. Anyone? I think there is none. So I invite Gaurav, convener of Kautilya Society at NUSRL, to deliver vote of thanks. So, Gaurav.
Thank you so much, sir. As we come to the end of this session, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks for today's insightful and enriching academic writing session. First and foremost, I express my deepest gratitude to Alok Prasanna sir for taking the time to share his invaluable knowledge and expertise with us. And I would also like to take this opportunity to extend my gratitude to our faculty convener, Dr. Utkarsh Verma sir, for his support. Unfortunately, sir, due to a last-minute change in his schedule, he could not join us today. But in the last session, he was there, and our registrar also joined that session. And additionally, I would like to highlight the contribution of the Kautilya Society and USRL, as we recently established a new Kautilya Society. In December, we signed an MOU with Vidhi and have already made significant contribution, including submitting a policy recommendation for the budget to the government of Jharkhand. And currently, we are working on recommendation for the budget for the revenue generation in the legal sector for the government of Jharkhand. And furthermore, we recently launched our podcast series, Niti Samvad, and with its first episode focusing on Jharkhand land laws and laws. Another existing project in our collaboration with other Kautilya societies on recommendation related to the DPDP rules. And I would also like to extend my sincere gratitude to Mavis Kazmi ma'am for kindly rescheduling this session again and ensuring its seamless execution, ma'am. Your guidance, constant support, and effort for the Kautilya Society and USRL are deeply valued, and we truly fortunate to have your mentorship. And I thank you for making this event possible. Lastly, a big thank to all our Kautilya members to join this session. Thank you once again, and thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for sharing all your insights and.
I'm happy to, and sorry once again about that. Last time we had to reschedule. The mistake was on my part. I kind of did not see the thing. And I hope this was a useful session. Anyway, feel free to contact me anytime. Any thoughts that you have, anything that you want to sort of get me to read, or any tips that you want on writing. But like I said, not going to get better unless you write. So you have to actually write.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks everyone. Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Thank you
Anytime.
for being here. And just wanted to thank the convener and everybody present here. Gaurav, Sumit, great job. Next time, maybe, we come with articles that we've actually written and seek feedback from Alok. So let's keep that in mind. And with this, I think we end our session. Thank you, NUSRL administration, and all those people who've been working behind, including Utkarsh sir and the technical team. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Gaurav, make sure that you stop the recording, and we could then further just edit it a little for the YouTube.